What if I told you that the San Francisco 49ers, one of the NFL's most storied franchises, might be systematically breaking down their own players through unconventional training techniques that have become the whispered concern of athletic professionals across the league? Does that make your blood boil? It should, because while fans watch helplessly as star after star crumbles to the turf, clutching hamstrings and hobbling off with soft tissue injuries, there's a disturbing pattern emerging from inside NFL training circles that suggests this nightmare isn't just bad luck, it's preventable. Welcome to an investigation that pulls back the curtain on what strength and conditioning experts across professional football have been quietly discussing for years. The 49ers do things differently, and that difference might be costing them championships. The alarming pattern nobody can ignore lets establish the facts with brutal clarity. Since Kyle Shanahan took the reins as head coach in 2017, the San Francisco 49ers have ranked in the top 10 for injury rate in every single season except one. That's not a coincidence, that's a trend. We're talking about nearly 3,000 games lost to injury over this span, placing them far and away as the most injured team in the National Football League during this period. Think about that staggering number for a moment. 3,000 games. That's not just a few unlucky breaks or a couple of collision injuries from this violent sport. That's a systematic failure that has robbed this franchise of its full potential year after year after year. The 2023 season stands as the lone exception, almost like a statistical anomaly that proves the rule rather than breaks it. But here's where this story takes a fascinating and troubling turn. According to a source with extensive experience as an athletic trainer for multiple NFL teams and high-level college football programs, what the 49ers implement as their training philosophy is markedly different from what the majority of organizations across the league employ. And within the tight-knit community of strength and conditioning coaches, physical therapists, and athletic trainers, this difference has become a topic of serious professional discussion. Inside the 49ers' unique approach, innovation or liability, at the center of this conversation sits Dustin Little, the 49ers' head athletic trainer who has been with the organization for the past 6 years. Little has developed his own distinctive style, encompassing weightlifting techniques, movement patterns, and overall training strategies that diverge from conventional NFL methodology. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, this isn't about declaring Little's methods categorically wrong or incompetent. Innovation in sports science can be valuable, but when innovation consistently correlates with injury catastrophe, we have an obligation to ask hard questions. The source revealed something particularly illuminating. When NFL players arrive at the professional level, they're already elite physical specimens. They've been sculpted by years of high-level college programs, already possessing the strength, speed, and conditioning that got them drafted. The primary objective at the NFL level becomes maintenance and incremental improvement, building upon an already solid foundation without breaking what's already working. Here's the critical issue. When the 49ers introduce training techniques, movement patterns, and weightlifting methodologies that are fundamentally different from what these athletes have practiced throughout their careers, their bodies face an adaptation challenge. The human body is remarkably resilient, but it's also a creature of habit. When you suddenly ask muscles, tendons, and ligaments to perform movements or bear loads in ways they haven't been conditioned for, you're essentially asking for trouble. The adaptation period can expose vulnerabilities. Bodies break down when forced into unfamiliar positions or subjected to novel stresses they haven't gradually prepared for. This isn't theoretical speculation. This is biomechanical reality backed by decades of sports science research. And it might explain why the 49ers suffer a disproportionate number of soft tissue injuries compared to the league average. The soft tissue epidemic, where prevention meets reality. Let's distinguish between types of injuries, because this matters enormously. When Fred Warner gets rolled up on and his ankle twists grotesquely in the wrong direction, that's bad luck. That's the violent, unpredictable nature of football. When Cam Akers suffers a broken leg from a collision, that's the inherent danger of the sport. These collision injuries, the dramatic, visible catastrophes, actually haven't plagued the 49ers disproportionately. But soft tissue injuries? Hamstring pulls, calf strains, muscle tears. These are the silent killers of the 49ers season, and they've occurred with alarming frequency. Just this year alone, the team has been decimated by these exact types of injuries. And here's the crucial distinction that every fan needs to understand. Soft tissue injuries are largely preventable and avoidable with proper training techniques, appropriate load management, and correct movement patterns. The 49ers' training approach includes more dynamic stretching before practices rather than static stretching, a choice that differs from many NFL teams. Their physical therapy protocols follow different philosophies. Their weightlifting techniques emphasize certain movements and load distributions that aren't standard across the league. Again, different doesn't automatically mean wrong, but when different consistently produces more injuries, especially the preventable kind, the correlation demands investigation. The EMF factor. Science fiction or legitimate concern? Now let's address the elephant in the room, or rather the electrical substation next to the practice facility. Multiple players, including former offensive lineman John Feliciano, have raised concerns about electromagnetic field EMF exposure from the electrical substation adjacent to the 49ers training complex. This has been discussed inside the building, and while the research is still emerging, there's growing evidence suggesting EMF exposure may contribute to cancer risk, impaired recovery, and potentially even soft tissue vulnerability. Is this the smoking gun? Probably not entirely, but when you're searching for answers to an 8-year injury crisis, you investigate every possibility. The scientific community is still unraveling the full implications of prolonged EMF exposure, but the fact that it's even a conversation within the organization speaks to the desperation for answers. The source confirmed that this EMF theory circulates among NFL health professionals as one potential contributing factor, though most emphasis remains on the training methodologies themselves. It's possible, even likely, that multiple factors compound to create the perfect storm of injury vulnerability. The accountability question: who bears responsibility? Some critics argue that players train with private coaches during the offseason. So, how can we blame the 49ers in-season staff? This argument collapses under scrutiny. Yes, players work with outside trainers during the offseason, but during the regular season, when these injuries predominantly occur, they're under the exclusive care of the 49ers strength and conditioning program. They're following Dustin Little's protocols, executing the team's movement patterns, and adhering to the organization's training philosophy. The data doesn't lie. The 49ers have been a top 10 injured team during the season for nearly every year of the Shanahan era. That's when players are entirely within the team's training ecosystem. That's when the organization has complete control over preparation, recovery, load management, and injury prevention protocols. There's also an uncomfortable truth about organizational culture. Despite the mounting evidence of a systemic problem, the 49ers haven't made significant changes to their strength and conditioning leadership. Dustin Little remains in his position. The core philosophy remains intact. This isn't about scapegoating one individual. It's about questioning why an organization would maintain the same approach while expecting different results. That's the definition of insanity, and it's costing this franchise dearly. The broader NFL perspective: what are others saying? Within the interconnected world of NFL athletic training, word travels. Strength and conditioning coaches talk. Physical therapists compare notes at conferences. Athletic trainers network and share observations. And according to multiple sources within this community, the 49ers' approach has become a case study in what happens when an organization commits to a divergent philosophy without the results to justify it. This isn't about jealousy or schadenfreude from rival organizations. These are professionals who respect the craft and understand the stakes. When they see a team consistently devastated by preventable injuries, they analyze, they discuss, and they learn what not to do. The 49ers have unfortunately become the cautionary tale, The example of how even well-intentioned innovation can backfire spectacularly when it doesn't align with the physiological realities of elite athletic performance. Some defenders of the current system point to the physical nature of 49ers football. It's true. This team prides itself on being tough, physical, and dominant at the line of scrimmage. The training techniques may contribute to that physicality. But what good is being physical if your best players are watching from the sideline in street clothes? What value is toughness if it comes at the cost of availability? The path forward. Can this ship be righted? The 49ers stand at a crossroads. They can continue down the current path, hoping that the 2023 season's relative health was a sign of things to come rather than a statistical outlier. Or they can acknowledge that 8 years of data is screaming for change. Real, substantive, uncomfortable change. This means potentially overhauling the strength and conditioning program. It means bringing in outside consultants to audit current practices against league-wide best practices. It means having difficult conversations about whether loyalty to current staff is worth more than the health of a roster that's supposed to be competing for championships. It means investigating every possible contributing factor, from EMF exposure to recovery protocols to the specific exercises and movement patterns being taught. Championship windows in the NFL are brutally short. The 49ers have one of the most talented rosters in football, but talent means nothing if it's perpetually in the training room. Every season lost to injuries is a season that can never be recovered. Every playoff run derailed by a decimated roster is an opportunity that vanishes forever. The organization owes it to the players who sacrifice their bodies, to the fans who invest their hearts, and to the legacy of this franchise to pursue every possible avenue for solving this crisis. That starts with honest acknowledgement that what they're doing isn't working, followed by the courage to make wholesale changes even when it means admitting past mistakes. The bottom line, accountability or excuses. So here we are, staring at nearly a decade of evidence that something is fundamentally broken within the 49ers' approach to player health and conditioning. We have testimony from NFL insiders that the methods are unconventional. We have statistical proof that the results are catastrophic. We have a pattern of soft tissue injuries that are, by definition, largely preventable. The question isn't whether the 49ers have an injury problem. That's beyond dispute. The question is whether they have the institutional courage to confront the root causes and make the necessary changes, even when those changes might be uncomfortable or require admitting that their unique approach has failed. This isn't about assigning blame for the sake of controversy. This is about demanding accountability from an organization that has the resources, the talent, and the infrastructure to be perennial Super Bowl contenders, but keeps shooting itself in the foot or the hamstring or the calf or the ankle through preventable injuries. The NFL is a results-oriented business. The 49ers' results on injury prevention have been abysmal. It's time for change. And it's time for that change to start at the foundation of how this team prepares and maintains its most valuable assets, the players. What do you think? Are the 49ers' training methods the real culprit behind this injury epidemic, or is this just an unfortunate string of bad luck? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear from you. And if this investigation opened your eyes to something you hadn't considered before, smash that like button, and let's keep this conversation going. The truth matters, and this franchise deserves answers.